Colin, if you have this USA Today story, the corporate media has been very focused on inflation. And today, actually, inflation reaches highest level since 1982 as consumer prices jumped 7% in 2021. So that's the headline there. Pretty bad, particularly during a pandemic that prices are going up like this. Inflation hit a fresh 39-year high in December as a drop in energy costs wasn't enough to offset a steady march upward for staples such as food, rent, and cars amid stubborn supply chain bottlenecks and worker shortages. Consumer price index jumped 7% last year, the fastest since 1982, blah, 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 blah. So this is your generic corporate media story that's just basically making it seem like inflation is because energy prices have gone up and blah, blah, blah. I don't get to do this often, but I have to give props to Elizabeth Warren. I wish, it's tough to do. I wish, she had a right to run for president. Would have been nice if she dropped out when it was very clear she had no chance. Maybe help the actual progressive get elected, but I digress. But I wanted to play this clip because Elizabeth Warren, one thing you could say, she's good at getting a congressional hearing soundbite. She has had a lot of moments. She grilled Federal Reserve Chair Powell, who basically admitted that, this inflation isn't just because prices are going up. It's because of greedy corporations and companies that have monopolies are price gouging the hell out of you and I. If you could play that, Colin.
Let me ask it the other way then, because we're still kind of doing Econ 101 here. If you're a corporation that has eaten up most of the competition and cornered the market, is it easier for you to raise prices on your customers and maximize your profits because you don't have to worry about losing your business? In other words, you've lost the discipline that the market imposes.
In principle, if you don't have competition and you're a monopolist, yes, you can raise your prices.
Okay. Today, nearly 2 out of 3 of the biggest publicly traded corporations in the country are reporting fatter profit margins than they reported before the pandemic. Does that increase in profit margins, combined with greater market concentration in industry after industry, suggest to you that some corporations may be passing along increased costs and, at the same time, charging more on top of that to fatten their profit margins?
That could be right. It could also just be, though, that demand is incredibly strong and that they're raising prices because they can.
Well, that's the point. They're raising prices because they can, and they're not being competed down. Market.
There you go. You got it. So I could say a lot. Ladies first. Your thoughts on Jerome Powell? I mean, honestly, all you needed to have from that is, well, they can, so they do.
I mean, that's exactly it. And I know you said it, and I'm going to take it and run with it. But I do feel like Elizabeth Warren loves having these sound bites. And then when it comes time to leverage power to do anything to try to change this, nothing has changed. I know she loves to say that she was a big, agitator in the side of Barack Obama and Biden way back when, but nothing changed. Income inequality has only grown. These corporations have only consolidated more. So I love that soundbite. I'm waiting for, the email to come asking me to help her, donate to her because she's got to keep fighting in Congress. And I agree, of course, with all of that, but so does most of the country. Like, who is that actually for anymore? I don't even know.
Right. And what's amazing to me about it is essentially, I mean, it's been obvious for a while now that these corporations, they might have initially been passing off increases on their end. But I mean, the data shows that they have been raking in profits and that they have been price gouging across the board, from supermarkets to the greediest of the greedy. Yet that's kind of been twisted into, it's a booming economy. It's a booming economy. The economy's rebounding. So it's kind of like, who's it rebounding for? Because these corporations are jacking up prices under the guise of inflation, and there are no actual laws against any of that. There are no laws. There's technically supposed to be competitive laws. There's been some reports that Biden has hired tougher antitrust people. I haven't seen shit. But it kind of is, I guess, refreshing to hear the Federal Reserve Chairman accidentally admit, yeah, no, these corporations are screwing you all because they can, and we're not going to do anything about it. What do you think, Pat?
Yeah, well, I think you're perfectly in line with what's going on. I mean, when inflation is rising at this rate and corporate profits are perfectly in sync with that, what's the check on getting us out of this situation? There are no checks and balances in the law. I mean, we're basically in a price gouging situation is what it is. And in an emergency, we have laws against price gouging on a local level, but we were in a prolonged 2-year situation of price gouging. And when the economy, when all the metrics that you judge your economy on are how well the stock market's doing and how well corporations are doing, we're going to stay in this situation for a long time.
Yeah. And I want to piggyback also, because I think it's important. Listen, I don't want to get attacked by the woke brigade. I think Elizabeth Warren, obviously every right to run for president. Before she abandoned Medicare for all and started moving towards the neoliberal end, like, she did have some good policies, whatever the hell she was talking about. I think her thing was like, I don't remember her tagline, but something along the lines of, here's my plan, or what.
I have a plan for that.
Yeah, I have a plan for that. But it just goes to show you, imagine two things. Number one, that she genuinely was about the policies rather than this egocentric silliness. Oh, well, Bernie's supporters were too hard on me and too negative and too many snake emojis. She should have dropped out after New Hampshire. Okay. Yeah. She should have dropped out after New Hampshire, when I think she came in third or fourth place in her backyard next to Massachusetts. Who knows? It's, a Monday morning quarterback at this point, but at least on Super Tuesday, there were a lot of states that Bernie came close to winning, that Warren got a significant portion of the votes because she had never dropped out and she was still on the ballot. So alternative history is a strong thing. The second thing is, I mean, other than in hearings with Jerome Powell, what is Elizabeth Warren doing about this?
No, she's coasted on these sound bites. She gets credit for creating the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. But she, Obama immediately didn't put her in charge of that and said that Republicans wouldn't put her in the position to run it. So she created an organization that it's sort of like the Congressional Progressive Caucus. I mean, it's like, you can say all these things, but what are you doing? How are you regulating? And her solutions always come down to a little more regulation on capital instead of, that's why her campaign strategy was big structural change, to break that down and say, that's not who I am. I'm for big structural change. But when you're not for Medicare for all, are you for a big structural change? No. Yeah. And that's where progressives have been, I don't care if you like Warren, that's fine. Whoever likes Warren, but I mean, just her betrayal won't be forgiven by a lot of us ever.
Yeah. If she actually cared about the policies she pretended to, and when everybody entered and they all said, we're all as progressive as Bernie, if the roles had been reversed and Bernie hadn't dropped out, I mean, he would have in a second thrown all of his support behind her. He wanted her to run in 2016. So I think it just shows how lacking her actual support of the policies she pretends to fight for, really.
Right. And I want to drill in more to this price gouging that's under the guise of inflation. If you have the Guardian piece, Colin. So this is from Robert Reich. Yeah, whatever. I mean, he was Bill Clinton's labor secretary. Occasionally has a good idea. Came out after the fact, once he was out of office and not working under Clinton, basically saying Clinton, was a right winger. Wish he would have said that like when he was there. Yeah. But he had this interesting piece in the Guardian where he's talking about this, and he's saying a major reason for price rises is supply bottlenecks, as Jerome Powell, chair of the Federal Reserve, has pointed out. He believes they're temporary, and he's probably right. But there's a deeper structural reason for this inflation, one that appears to be growing worse: the economic concentration of the American economy in the hands of a relative few corporate giants with the power to raise prices. If markets were competitive, companies would keep their prices down in order to prevent competitors from grabbing away customers. But they're raising prices even as they raked in record profits. How can this be? They have so much market power, they could raise prices with impunity. And this is the point. This is what I've covered on the ground for years. What he just described is what CNN is describing as a booming economy.
Right.
What CNBC and all these corporate Neanderthals are talking about, we're unemployment's at the lowest rate in, I don't know what it is right now, but lowest rate in decades, and GDP is bouncing back. If you actually look underneath the hood, we're about to get to the Kroger situation. It's an economic Hunger Games out there. But honestly,
Marcia Fudge put out a tweet, I think yesterday or the day before, that we're the only developed country that has a booming economy and like thriving in this global pandemic. It only took 1 million bodies, right? Like, and then all the rest of the suffering. I mean, that's quite a flex there when we are in this mass devastation. People can, and I know you're about to get to it with what's happening at Kroger's and all these huge corporations that double dip, right? They don't pay their employees enough. Then those same employees have to be helped out by the state. So they're getting it both ways. They're getting huge tax incentives, and we're helping subsidize their employees who they don't pay a living wage.